So that's you're saying that's the best route.
Yep. The best route, if I was in your shoes, I would.
I started in the merchant industry about maybe 10 years ago with my uncle. I was 17 years old.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was doing door-to-door sales all over LA County, Orange County,
Sure.
for a good 4 or 5 years, and I kind of stopped doing it because it was a far drive.
Right.
And then I've been back into it for the last 2 years with my uncle's company again.
Okay.
But the way he's moving his company is not in the direction I think a company should be ran.
Okay.
So my question was, how do I start? How do I break off myself from him and start my own, ISO or
Right.
company as far as merchant services goes?
Sure. So really good question. I think it's really important at the beginning here to understand kind of the different levels in our industry, right? So at the like way up here at the top, we have the acquiring banks. So these are like, when you think of like, TSYS, First Data, these are acquirers. So these are like the big, big organizations. And then what happens is as you get down below them, you have these different layers of what we call ISOs or independent sales organizations. You'll hear the term in our industry called like a super ISO. So
Yeah.
a super ISO, and it's like a lot of these words are like they're so similar with what they mean. It's hard to understand a lot of times. But like a super ISO, it basically means it's a really, really big company that has a lot of agents and even sub ISOs underneath of it. And they do their own customer service, they do their own tech support, a lot of times they handle their own risk and all that. So that's like a super ISO. And then you just have like an ISO, which is just a sales organization. And then you go all the way down to where you have a merchant level salesperson, which is what you are. So a merchant level salesperson
Yes.
means it's, individual person you're selling. So one of the things I love about this industry right now is that there actually isn't there's not very much regulation or any certification or anything in order for you to like build your own team and build your own company. So ultimately, the only thing you need to do to break off is break off and go find a company where you can be a 1099, independent contractor. And then what you can do is at pretty much all of these ISOs and super ISOs, if you work with them, what you can do is you can actually make a company. So you could create like a limited liability company or corporation or whatever you want, and that company can be the agent. So you can make your
Okay.
agreement with that company. So that's something that you would do right off the bat, because all you're trying to do, it sounds like to me, is you just want to separate yourself, find you're always going to be working for a company in this industry,
Of course.
right? It's either going to, you're just trying to, you're trying to go up the ladder like one rung, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big ladder, right? So what I would say is find a company. And by the way, I'll plug it here since we're doing the video. If you go to the ccsalespro.com website, there's a find a processor link right at the top. And if you
Right.
click on that and fill out that form, I'll do a different call with you. That's obviously a private call, and talk to you about which processor I'd recommend and things like that. So I try to get a little more context and understand that. But once you find the right processor, then the cool thing is from there, if you find the right company that's a little bit larger, you can grow a lot with that one company. Usually they'll let you bring on your own sub agents if you want. So you could later on bring on a sales team. But the one restriction that's still going to exist is registration. So you are going to hear this term. Are you a registered ISO? Okay. A registered ISO is all it means is that Visa and MasterCard, you've registered with them your name, and they do this like really deep dive into your financials, into your background, your criminal background, all this stuff. And they will actually give you a registered brand. And all that does for you is it allows you to call yourself a credit card processing company. So,
Okay.
so let's say you created a company called like LA Business Solutions LLC, right? That organization, that company, that entity, you can sell for another company. That's fine. You can become an agent of, First Data. But if you do that, when you present yourself on your website or your business cards, you can't say LA Business Solutions processes credit cards. You have to say LA Business Solutions, and then below that, an agent of XYZ processing company, right? So you kind of have
Okay.
to include and for another really good example is on the agreement, like on the merchant agreement, your logo is not going to be on the merchant agreement. It's going to be the company you work for, that you work with. It's going to have their logo. If you get a registered brand, then you can put your logo on there. But To get a registered brand takes like 6 months, $40,000. And it's like, there's no reason to do that. It's not like you're going to make that many more sales because you're registered. So you don't really need to become your own registered ISO. You just need to become your own independent sales organization or merchant level salesperson. You want to be a 1099 contractor because of the tax implications and all that. You may end up wanting to start a limited liability company at some point. Obviously, consult your CPA and stuff about that. But that's really the extent of it.
So that's you're saying that's the best route.
Yep. The best route, if I was in your shoes, I would go find a company where I really agreed with it. Obviously, where I can make more money. It's a no-brainer, right? You want to get maximum compensation. But the other big thing is you want to get maximum compensation. But the thing that a lot of people forget that are in your position is that they try to get maximum compensation and they forget that if you go with a company that does not provide good support, doesn't give you a bunch of equipment options and all that, you're not going to make very many sales because you're going to spend all your time trying to like put out fires and like work with your merchants. So there's a balancing act there. You want to find a company that's going to pay you really good comp, but also a company that's going to like service your accounts so you can get out there and make a lot more sales.
Yeah, take care of you in the background, basically.
Yep, exactly. So long story short, if you already have a company, fantastic. Go try them out. If not, go to ccsalespro.com, click on find a processor, and I'll help you out there. So.
All right, perfect.